Hello, good morning. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host today, myself, Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship and inspirational stories. And today we are set for a brilliant show. We are celebrating Pride Month and Pride Week with Tech Corporation and Digital. And I would like to introduce my guests and give them a warm welcome to Lenna Cumberbatch, James Sharpe, and Philippa Wisniewski. Welcome to the show. And it's really good to have you here. So Lenna Cumberbatch, she is a diversity and inclusion strategist with experience of working across public and private sectors, including higher education, healthcare, information technology in the UK, Europe, and USA. James Sharpe has worked in and Digital for 20 years, working currently at as a Chief Strategic Alliances. He's responsible for forging partnerships between businesses. He is passionate about diversity and inclusion and works to develop allyship in the workplace. And I have Philippa Wisniewski. She is a full-stack developer in club touring at with a passion for accessibility and has worked there for 3.5 years. So again, warm welcome to you all.
Hello. Thank you.
Where are you? Where is everybody today in the country or not in the country? So yeah, I'll start with you, Philippa. Whereabouts are you today?
I'm in Halifax, West Yorkshire.
You're in West Yorkshire. I've been to Yorkshire before actually, and long time ago. But yeah, it was very, very nice. A lot of countryside and really enjoyed it. Yourself, James?
Oh, I'm in sunny Manchester today. My home for 2 years.
Uptown in Manchester. And yourself, Lenna?
I am in very sunny Dundee in Scotland.
And you're up there in Scotland. So we're all, and I'm in London, and I'm in East London. So we couldn't have been demographically in so many different parts of the country. So yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's really, really great to be here. We are here as part of. There's a little bit of noise there. We are here to celebrate Pride Month and Pride Week with So a digital organisation where James and Philippa are from with us today. They accelerate the development of world-class digital capabilities and power the product development of ambitious companies. They work with clients and people to build impactful products and high-performing teams. They do that by blending technical, craft and product expertise with award-winning approach to talent, growth and development. And today we are celebrating Pride Month, and we're going to be listening to stories from all three of you, backstories and us giving us a little bit of context about yourself. So yeah, in the first instance, I would just like to, just if you'd just like to just say a little bit about yourself, that would be really great. And in no particular order, James, do you want to start?
Yes, great, thank you. Well, it's good to speak to you again, Louise. It's always a pleasure to work with you. So, James Sharpe, as Louise mentioned, I'm Chief for Strategic Alliances, and we all have an AND title as well, and my AND title is Fabulous Party Animal. I identify as a cis male. I've been out for 28 years, and perhaps clues to that are in my AND title. In that 28 years of being out, I've seen a lot of change occurring with the prejudices and bigotries that we have felt in the queer community. Just 7 years before I was born, it was illegal to be gay. And as I was going through my teen years and as a young adult into university, the age of consent was 21 for gay men, reduced to 18, and eventually we managed to get that down to 16. Right in the middle of those formative years was the HIV/AIDS crisis, and then the introduction of Section 28 in the Local Government Act that prevented the promotion of homosexuality as a result of that stigma and shame that followed the HIV/AIDS crisis. I'm glad to say more positive attitudes have occurred, and I've lived, loved, and cried through all of those moments, and I'm really pleased to be on the show today. So thanks for the invite.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much, James, for sharing that with us. And Felipe?
Yeah, so I'm Philippa, and yeah, I have been. I came out quite a bit later in life. So yeah, kind of my journey was that I didn't really think much of it as a teenager, and then kind of after university and things like that, I was shown about the asexual spectrum and what demisexual was, and I really could understand that, and the understanding of like needing to have a connection with someone before feeling that attraction really resonated with me. And then as I kind of continued down that journey, I realized that wasn't the end of it, and that I wasn't the gender of the partner that I was with wasn't as important as I had thought it once was, and so that's why I came to identify as demi-bisexual. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Philippa. And Lenna, yourself, if you would just introduce yourself, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lenna Cumberbatch. I'm currently a PhD student studying diversity, inclusion, and strategic change at the University of St Andrews in Scotland. This is why I'm up here in Dundee, but I am a Londoner, proud, born and bred, and so a bit of a crisscross of experiences here and there. I also work in diversity, inclusion, strategy, and I work for a variety of different organisations delivering on D&I work. In terms of my queer journey across the board, and so a variety of different stories across life and experiences. And I think some of the key points in my coming out story are around coming out as a Black woman, as much as it was about coming out. And when I went to university, I came out when I was at university. I was in a predominantly white environment. And so population of LGBTQI plus people was small, but the population of people who were Black and LGBTQI was even smaller. And so that was a big part of my identity in finding out who I am, is being able to find myself Black role models. And it took a 500-mile trip and a copy of Lisa Moore's book, Does Your Mama Know? Coming Out Stories of Black Lesbians, for me to be able to really feel and see and get some reflection on that space.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wow, everybody's had such different experience, but yet you can come really together in common with how, it was finding that time and that moment in your life where you was just, realized that, the realization of what you've done to overcome any kind of fears or inhibitions that you had about who you are, and being able to, say, this is me. And lift others up. This is what this is the title of this radio show and podcast on behalf of And Digital. And it's about just being able to celebrate people from the LGBTQ community and just lift our voices and just the real experiences about where we're coming from and how it is that, we've been supported or supported each other. So it'd be good to find out from each of you what, the month of Pride, really means to you. It's a very important, significant time of the year where we're able to give the attention to LGBT plus community and all that evolves around that. So I'd just really like to ask you, well, what does the month of Pride, Pride Month, what does that mean to you? Lenna, I'll start with you.
I think Pride Month or Pride events or Pride activities are really key in a lot of the visibility that we have for the community. I think the great massing together of all of those activities makes for an even bigger bang at one time. But I'd like to be clear that Pride isn't Pride for me 1 month in the year. It is my life. It is every day. It is what I do. It is who I am. It is a part of my identity, and I make sure it is visible every single day of the week, every year. And for me, that became really essential when I saw such a lack of visibility of queerness in the population. So I fulfill many stereotypes of lesbians, and so by looking at me, most people would know and assume, but I make sure that it is clear, and so I make sure that my symbols are visible on every day. And so for me, I think it's brilliant that we can come up and we can have this great massing of Pride activities in 1 month to increase the visibility, but it's not 1 month.
Absolutely. It's who you are all the time. It's not just for one day. And James?
Yeah, I have to agree with the comments there. I'm overtly out in the workplace and with my friends and colleagues. I think it's really important to be seen that way. Pride is often accused of just being a party, but it has a proper mission to it, and it's that continued visibility and education, and just showing that we are human like everybody else, and we're not choosing to live this way. We were born this way. We're proud to be this way, and we give back, right? And there are some important things that I think Pride does, and we'll talk later about hate crime, and the statistics are going in the wrong direction. It's going back up. And that's because there's fear and stigma and, a whole bunch of other negative things that are happening in society right now that I think Pride allows people to see, actually, look, there's a huge diverse population, there's intersectionality in our community and beyond. It's important to be seen. So, I, for one, love attending Pride. I remember my first Pride 25 years ago, jumping on a bus from Stoke-on-Trent and marching, and that sense of inclusion and belonging was really important in my journey. So it's really important, I think, that we continue to do this.
Thank you so much, James. Sense of inclusion and belonging, that is, the pinnacle, isn't it, of what it means. And Philippa?
Yeah, so to add to that, I mean, both great answers. I guess the only other thing that I think about when I think about Pride Month is about the education alongside the visibility. So it means that people maybe have those conversations that they didn't have, or they Google something that they didn't know about before, and kind of dig a bit deeper, so that they can, so that we can be more inclusive and more understanding of everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, there's, again, all of you have just given such great context around what it's about. For me as a diversity inclusion consultant, for myself personally, it's just about belonging. It's about inclusion. Everybody knowing that, they are equal and in the shoes that where they stand and belong, whichever room, wherever we are, as a community of individuals. And Pride Month is fun. It is fun, James, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I adore it, but it is an important thing. And actually, I read a statistic the other day from Stonewall. In a 30,000 person sample, 52% of those people are not out. They identify as being LGBTQI, but they still choose not to be out. Now that is startling in this day and age, frankly, that people fear that stigma. So again, that sense of belonging, right, is really important.
What I would like to ask each of you, can you perhaps give some examples or your own experience why you think some people at work specifically may not be out? What are those fears that they may be feeling about coming out at work? What are some of the barriers that people are still facing from the LGBTQ community about being themselves at work?
Well, I think there's lots of reasons why people may choose not to come out at work. I mean, you don't need to come out if you don't wish to come out, nor should you be outed, I think is an important thing to mention. However, there is inequality in the workplace still, and unfair treatment because of your sexuality sadly does still exist. And in that Stonewall report that I've just mentioned, 13% of people last year had been treated unfairly as a result of their sexuality, whether taking a maternity or paternity time off, right, because you're queer. How can that happen, right? Or unequal benefits in the workplace, or just bullying, or those microaggressions that just appear because you happen to be out. And I think that's maybe why people choose not to come out.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think what you said there, saying not being outed and not feeling like they have to do anything particular, but also people should be able to feel like they can be themselves without being judged or without being discriminated against about of who they are. Lenna or Philippa, would you like to, have you had experiences or thinking about why, we're still like 51% of people being worried about being their self?
I think we don't know what the response is going to be when you can't predict, when you've got an unpredictable response coming at you for whatever reason. It's easy to set it what will be in a space and be somebody that's different to people who are there. And so not knowing what that response is going to be is risky. Do I want to go through that trauma of being in a risky situation where as a result I get treated differently? James spoke about a number of different reasons that exist. But I mean, in addition to any negative consequences that you may have associated with coming out, being out, some people are like, why do I need to tell anybody?
Yeah,
it's private. It's my business. I don't need to.
That's right.
I don't need to advertise my life to everybody. And I think ultimately, I am visible because I think it's important to be visible. I make sure that people know about me and know who I am, not because I feel like I need them to come and talk to me. They can if they want to, but because I need people to understand and see, for those who don't know what it looks like, who don't think that they're on their own, who think that they're alone, who think that they're isolated or don't have any support. I need to be visible for that reason, because I know what it was like, and I've seen the detrimental impacts it can have on people's lives. But at the same time, don't come out unless you are safe to do so. And you choose to do so. It's up to you. Don't let anybody else's pressure make you do something you're not interested in doing or you're not ready to do. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I exist in the world. And I'm happy to be this person and be in this space. But after numerous examples and experiences throughout my life, I've been out for 20-some years now as well. And watching and experiencing people and talking to people, I will never make somebody feel like they need to come out.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm doing what I do because this is what I want to do. This is who I am. But come out when you want to, when you're ready to, and not because somebody else said so, but because you feel safe and you want to celebrate yourself and your identity with other people.
Absolutely. 100%. I felt every moment of that, Lenna, and I'm hoping people that are listening into the show today, those people within and those people that listen to the show hereafter, also are able to really connect with what it is that you're saying. What all our guests here are speaking and sharing their truths and their experiences, and hopefully adding inspiration to people that are in a similar situation, or just thinking about where they're at in their journey. We are going to go into a very, very short commercial break. When we come back, I'll be speaking further to you guys about who you are and what you do, and continuing the conversation in celebration of Pride Month, and as we are saying, and lift each other up. So we'll be right back. Please do not touch that dial. You are locked into the Power Hour on Revive FM.
This is Aisha. Her father died in an accident at a very young
So
age. She lives with her mother and sibling. The very basics of life, resulting in her and many others not being able to attend school. Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your charity is dedicated towards supporting the full needs of orphans and needy children around the world. Donate today. Call us now, 0300 3030 777. Or visit us on minhajwelfare.org.
Thinking of selling or letting your property? Need someone reliable to find the best prospect for your home? Well, look no further. Cameron Adams is here to take care of all your needs. Our professional and experienced team will guide you through the entire process and ensure you find the right client for your property. For a no-obligation quotation, contact us now on 0208 558 2000. That's 0208 558 2000. Or visit us at 30 Church Lane in Leytonstone. Cameron Adams, always at your service.
Turkish Kitchen, the best Turkish food you'll ever taste. We only use the highest quality meat. Along with our mixed grill platters, we serve cold mezes, hot mezes, lahmacun, and a wide selection of fish options. To order for delivery or collection, call us now on 0208 507 8822. That's 0208 507 8822. Or visit us at 41 Ripple Road, Barking, IG11 7NT. We can also take group bookings and take care of all your party needs. the Turkish kitchen barking.
Looking to get your finances in order? MR Accountants has you covered. We provide a full range of accountancy and taxation services, including annual and management accounts, self-assessment tax returns, VAT, bookkeeping, and payroll services. We ensure you're kept up to date with the latest legislation, and our client-focused approach helps us plan your business finances from savings to investments. We are MR Accountants. Visit our website at mraccountants.com or call us on 0203 432 9138.
With over 40 years experience in the industry, Plachette Carpets is the place to go for all your carpets, laminates, linos and wood flooring. We have an established network of suppliers, which means we can offer some of the best prices in town. We offer free estimates, free measurements and now even free fitting. Call us now on 0208 472 8568 or visit us at 157 Plachette Road, Upton Park, London, E13 0QZ.
Revive FM
94.0 on the radio,
on your mobile
and online.
Hello, welcome back. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with myself, your host today. Just to remind you, this show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship and inspirational stories. And today in the studio, we are celebrating Pride Month with And Lift Each Other Up with And Digital, with our guests today, Lenna Cumberbatch, James Sharpe and Philippa Wisniewski. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Hi. So just before the commercial break, we were speaking about Pride Month. We were speaking about what it means to you, and you guys were very kind in sharing some of your own personal backstories. We had just started sharing some of that backstory, and I was just going to just deep dive into that a little bit more, and because I just think that those stories are very, very inspirational, and just ask a few more questions. We spoke about the Stonewall report as well, where 51% of people were still not sure about, they hadn't come out for whatever the reason, and we were saying that actually nobody should be forced to or feel like they have to come out, but at the same time, people should be able to be in a place of work where they're comfortable to be their self and who they are. It would just be really good to speak to you guys about within the workplace, have and your own experiences in the workplace, and just your backstory in general, and how in terms of any sort of like transitions for yourself, do you feel supported by people at work? Were there any situations yourself where you felt supported because you come from the LGBTQ community? I know at And you have your own group, and where you have members but I was just wondering where, have you had an experience where you felt particularly supported at work, where you are now or otherwise? Philippa?
So I worked at And now for quite a while, and whilst I was figuring things out, I remember talking to a friend of mine and just saying, hey, I've been thinking about it, and this is me coming out. And it was just so nice to have someone just be like, cool, do you want to talk about it? Do you not want to talk about it? There wasn't like a stigma attached to it. It was just, okay, that's cool, or I don't know about it. I remember telling somebody else at work, I think it was to do with a Pride month topic last year, and I said about being demi, and they went and they did some research, and they were like, wow, thanks for telling me, I've learned so much now about something, and it was just nice to have that support and understanding, instead of as Lenna talked about before, the worry that somebody's going to say, oh, that's not real, or like discredit you, or just say something negative. It was really nice to have a positive support of people.
Oh, that's thank you so much. Thank you so much, Philippa. James?
Yeah, I mean, I've not been at And quite as long. It's my 9th month, but the thing that has struck me about And is how human it is. Our Andes, our people, are at the heart of everything that we do, and we have a diverse and inclusive business built from the ground up, because we can then build better product that in itself then is more diverse and inclusive in how it's received, right? And that's super important to us. You mentioned our LGBTQI community. We're just over 1,000 Andes now, and we have an active Slack channel in for our community. There's 172 people in that community, those that identify as LGBTQI, and our allies. And it's a really thriving, positive environment where you can feel safe, you can feel included, and you can bring up topics as you wish. And as mentioned, you can have very quiet and careful conversations if you want, or you can be out and proud. I suppose in my career, I made a choice right at the beginning to be out and wear my heart on my sleeve. And as recently as 4 years ago, in a professional context, I was homophobically assaulted, physically and verbally. And it was difficult, right? I felt like a 10-year-old again. It really knocked me back. So it's really important that we continue to celebrate pride and build allies inside our workplaces, because I had to turn to an ally in the workplace to help me through that, what was frankly a very scary and very belittling experience, which I didn't expect in the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. James, did you? Of course, that must have been completely shocking.
Yeah,
because you was at work as well.
Yeah, I was at a conference. I was talking to the conference organizers and a couple of customers, and an attendee at that conference chose to take issue of myself, came over through punches, and the language I don't want to repeat on air was specifically homophobic. And you stand back and you're shocked. I mean, literally, I really thought homophobia had gone away, right? I was living my life completely unaware that homophobia, it seemed of it's still in the population. And then what happened after that was difficult, because I found myself apologizing to the organizers of the event and the people around me. I'm sorry, you shouldn't have had to see that. Oh goodness, shall I remove myself from the context, right, was my first thought. And in hindsight, why would you do that? And then the second thing that happened beyond that was then the event organizers didn't speak to me about what should happen next, took it upon themselves to call the police, took it upon themselves to take me to a room to counsel me. And then I was forced to relive, in essence, the encounter, giving a statement to the police that I really wasn't willing to do. I didn't want any more fuss. And again, that's not particularly right, I suppose. And then overnight thinking, oh, what shall I do? And then my allyship mentality came back. And I thought, well, actually, that isn't acceptable. And funny enough, I knew this person's boss because I'd interviewed in his business literally a couple of weeks earlier, and sat in the airport. I phoned his boss, said, look, I don't really want to make an issue about it, but you've got two problems here. Your brand has been damaged by the behavior of this individual, which is secondary to they might be doing this to your staff, your people in your workplace, and you probably need to know about this. And I felt sick having that phone call, but it was really important to do it. And the individual was dealt with properly, and a gross misconduct occurred, and he was removed from his workplace. But that wasn't. I didn't go to that conference to set out to put that into motion, and that happened. So really strange emotions all the way through that. And I still think about that. And funny enough, when I go to that conference center, I always think about that one moment, which is, 4 years on. Crazy, right?
It really is. You just wouldn't expect that at work. And I'm just so glad that you had allies and you had that support. It's shocking, actually. Like you said, perhaps the naivety of us thinking that these things have gone away. And actually, I think the honest truth is it hasn't, completely gone away. And, these things are still happening. It's atrocious, actually, that, in this day and age, these things are still continuing. At any time, these things shouldn't be happening. And, I just wanted to ask you, thank you so much, James. And I just wanted to ask you, Lenna, you spoke about the different ceilings as a Black woman, and as somebody that is consider yourself from the LGBT community, those multifaceted things that, you know, have perhaps, you know, encompassed, you know, who you are, and I wanted to ask you, has the different layers of being Black, a woman, and gay, how have you navigated that? Have you had any kind of discrimination based on that?
I think one of the key points about what you're saying there, Louise, is because of the multifaceted nature of it, because of the intersectionality, you can't always tell which one it is that people are discriminating against you based on, and you can't always see which it is, and you can't always tell. And I'm a Black woman, but I'm a masculine Black woman, and as a masculine Black woman, Black women are treated a certain way, period. And as a masculine woman, and that will add to that, any discrimination on that basis. But how much of that may be transphobia, actually, or you know, homophobia, right? Because of the way that I don't conform to gender norms in that sense. But in addition to the fact that I'm visibly, I read queer, and that's how I identify. And so how you decide which of the areas of discrimination I'm facing will be determined by the environment that I'm in. And so, for example, if I'm in a room full of Black people, I'm less likely to be facing racism. That doesn't eliminate that possibility, but I'm less likely to be facing racism. So if I'm facing discrimination, it's likely to be related to something else. And so there are a multitude of different ways in which you face discrimination, and you determine which it is at the time. So I know that when I was applying for jobs, I had to make the conscious decision as to whether or not I was going to be out on my CV. Now, when I walk into a room, I'm out. It's just who I am. It's what, you know, what I see, and anybody who doesn't see that is not really considering the possibilities of difference that are existing in the room. I'm not saying that you must see something and decide that this is a thing, so much as I am is you must consider the possibilities of all different types of people in the space. But as I said, I'm visible, so I wear a rainbow with me wherever I go. Yeah. But on my CV, we know that people face discrimination based on their name, based on the jobs that they've done, the spaces they've worked in, how long they've worked there, whether or not they've taken off time for long-term sickness or for maternity. You know, all the different reasons. Yeah, people already get filtered out of a job possibility because of what's on their CV. Do I want to put on there that I worked for an LGBT organization on my CV as well? And so, and I made the conscious decision, yes, because actually I don't want to work anywhere that doesn't want me to work for an LGBT organization. And so I made that conscious decision, but it was a process for me that I had to go through. It was a decision that I had to make, and I had to think about it, and I had to decide. And I said, this is who I am. This is who you get when you get me. All of these things will be valuable to you as an employer. And honestly, if you don't want me, then you are missing out. And that's just the attitude that I need to take. Yeah, I love it. Otherwise, I mean, like, yeah, I'm good at my job. I'm really good at my job, and because I take pride in what I do, and I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a thorough, and so if you don't want me, then that's your problem. It's a loss for you.
And leading from that, I would like to ask you, what can organisations be doing differently? I mean, you're a D&I strategist, Lenna, and if you could just sort of extend what you were saying there, you know, what should organisations be doing? You know, you're on both sides of the coin. You're the D&I strategist from the commercial perspective, but you're also part of the LGBT+Q community, you know, applying for jobs and having to face, you know, like you said, these questions and come to terms with, you know, this is what I'm going to do, you know. So could you kind of extend that in the commercial space? What should organizations be doing?
I need you to be visible about everything that you're doing. Be out yourselves about the community and the environment that you're creating in your workplace. And that's going to be, and you can't be visible unless you are doing something, which means you need to do something. And what is it you're doing? And that's not about, as I said earlier, that's not about, you know, having a float at Pride once a month. That's not what it's about. It's not about changing your logo on Twitter to a rainbow logo. That's not what it's about. It's about what differences are you making? What changes are you making? I want to hear that from the people who work in your organization, and not just the top person it's great to see senior contributions to the community, but I want to know that everybody in that organization feels comfortable being, at all the different levels of seniority in your organization feel comfortable being out in that space, because it means that they don't feel like their sexual orientation is going to interfere with their career progression. And that's one of the key things. So be out about that, have visible, I want to see actual, and when I apply for your job, it should be in your application package. It should be front and center in all the materials that you distribute about what you're doing. And it should be a part of your intake process for your new employees when you tell them, thanks for joining. And don't assume, oh, well, I'll tell these people and I won't tell those people because those people are clearly not. You tell everybody. Yeah. Because it's a massive commitment to contribution, and it's about visibility. Visibility is so important. So those are the key things. Your policies and procedures, that should be easy, frankly. I mean, the law tells you what to do. Go above and beyond. That's simple, right? But make the environment an inclusive space for everybody.
Yeah, that is brilliant. You know, and Digital have launched an LGBTQ plus buddy network recently. And it's a support network that's going to enable people with the LGBT plus community to connect with each other and, you know, discuss things confidentially and life or coming out and work. And, you know, that's something that they've launched recently. And, you know, Philippa, it leads back in again to what you were saying. You had this conversation and just being listened to and just feeling that allyship from your colleague, and actually your colleague learning something from you. Do you know what? I didn't know that before. Thank you very much. I now know something that, you know, and James, we had a fun, you know, all of us have had really great conversations before this show. And, you know, James, you and I, we spoke about, you know, whereabouts in the country you're from. And you know, we spoke about some of your earlier stories and of course, you know, this really difficult thing and terrible thing that happened. But, you know, at the same time, you know, one of the things that you told me as well, which I found extremely interesting, about people from the gay community leaving their hometown and going to live in other places because they're going to be more accepted. Yeah. I would really love you to just briefly speak about that, you know, because I felt like I learned something that I didn't even consider, you know, that populations of gay community are living in certain parts of the UK. Why is that? Why is that? And I really love it if you'd share that with us today.
Well, I mean, clearly I'm quite old now, but and I'm hoping, and I do believe actually my hometown has matured to the fact that there are diversities in all aspects of human life. And so, but yeah, I grew up in a small town in South Wales, and I mean, I was aware that I was queer probably from about the age of 10, and by the time I got into high school, I was probably, you could read that in me, right? And the bullies saw it, and I, you know, systemically bullied all the way through high school, to the point where, you know, I was harming myself and considering taking my life, right? It was a really horrible period of time, and the only thing that kept me motivated was I will be moving and I will be going to university and I will be away from this. And I find it hard going back. I mean, I go back to see my parents probably about 2 or 3 days a year. That's enough for me. It's just difficult. And what that does is when you leave, and we talked specifically around COVID and that sense of you've traveled and you're on your own. When you can't be with your community, it becomes really hard and it becomes really lonely because you've kind of shifted your home, right? And then all of a sudden you can't be with your friends and allies and people that care for you. So, you know, that was really difficult. And I've been talking to one of our Andys who has moved from a small town in the north to London to find that sense of belonging, and has been sort of shut in for the last year and has lost that connection. It's been really difficult actually for him. So, you know, letting him know that he is safe and there are people that he can talk to and, you know, just feel connected again is really important. So yeah, I think the two things are connected. So when you have that opportunity removed from you, it makes it really hard again. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having to form and kind of like another community or family ship somewhere else, because for whatever the reason, not feeling in a safe environment, in your your place of home where you originally come from. And when we had this conversation, you were speaking about why people sort of like go to live in Brighton or other parts of the country, how it really made me consider and really think that there's something that's liberating but also not fair about it.
Yeah, I mean, there are big cities with big populations of LGBTQI. Manchester has a huge trans population. I think it might be the biggest trans population in the country, and it's really special. You do feel safe in Manchester. However, it doesn't mean you're free from homophobia, because in the 19 years I've lived in Manchester, I've probably at least once a year had homophobic abuse thrown at me across the street, or just this week, the village has a number of murals of drag artists and pioneers in our community, daubed with, quite frankly, obscene and violent graffiti. And the one thing about that, the community literally came together and we repainted that together. It was done within days, and we were proud to put it back to as it was. And just, so that sense of belonging is, for me, really important, and that's why I wear my sexuality on my sleeve. So hopefully it motivates others are feeling, alone or not connected, to feel safe enough to talk to me about my experiences.
And Philippa and Lenna. Philippa, I know that you travelled. You explained to me, you told me that you'd been to different parts of the world and lived in different places and everything. And how was it, the transition process for you? Have you been able to speak to other people about your experience and shed a light on to them about your experience, and perhaps giving them some inspiration around the shoes that you've walked in?
So a bit of backstory. As a child, I lived in India and America, so like very much had like a different understanding of the world from that. And I went to an all-girls school when I was in America, and like the concept of gender kind of got thrown out the window because I just didn't see boys my own age. So I just didn't really like get what gender was about, because like it wasn't as like conformed as it is if you go to a mixed school. So I think that definitely like played a part. And then when we came back to the UK, like nobody else, not a lot of people have that childhood. It's not a very regular. So I remember getting to uni and meeting other people that also had like moved around and stuff, and finding out from them what that was like and how that I had changed their like understanding of gender and sexuality. And I think from me and my friends, I think it has made us maybe take a little bit longer to like take our journeys and have that understanding of ourselves, because you're trying to understand a different culture or a different way of life at first, and then kind of fit into that and be like, is it okay to be that way, or is that even a thing? Is dependent on where you are in the world.
Thank you, Philippa. And Lenna, I know that you're on a number of boards, and you've got really extensive board experience. And does this subject come up in the boardroom enough, around diversity and support and inclusivity and belonging for people from the LGBTQ community? I know I was reading recently that within the FTSE 100 organisations, a lot of the it's LGBTQ community and everything about LGBTQ is not even mentioned in half of their reports. So I just wondered, what's it like in the boardroom, from your perspective?
In answer to your question, does it come up enough? No, No, so it's a simple answer to the question essentially, and that's across the board for diversity and inclusion. But it's getting better, and I'm hopefully and a lot of the work that I'm doing is hoping to help to contribute to that change. In the organisations where I'm working in particular, they are really taking positive, actual visual steps, not the sort of surface level visible stuff just on its own, but actually making changes within their organization. One of the organizations I work with currently, the Masson, have just launched a trans inclusion policy specifically targeted and tailored for that group. And I think it's that sort of attention to detail on the nitty gritty as well as the visibility of stuff that's really important, really key, so that we are able to say to people, listen, this is not just stuff that we're talking about, we're doing things. And so what I want to see is, this is not about, oh, well, we need one of them and a one of them and a one of them on our board. And one of those, we need one of those with a bit of that on it as well. That's not what I'm interested in seeing. What are you doing to change your organization, to rebuild it with people who have different experiences, so that that space is no longer this homogenous space. It's now a space that's built from, created by, designed with everybody in your culture and the community involved, so that it is inviting and inclusive and of all different kinds of people. And I think that's the key thing. That's what I want to see. Lip service is not doing me any good. Yeah, completely agree. And has home working and the virtual space change anything? Because the same that the physical the physical touch in terms of our friends, our family, how we would be able to communicate with one another and receive that kind of support, and that dialogue in the office or in the coffee room, that is no longer there, is it? So there may be some people actually who even more so are feeling isolated. What do you think? Does anybody want to comment on that? That may perhaps, due to COVID and the fact that we've had so much, we've all been working in a space, more or less where we haven't had that same camaraderie with each other, that people are maybe be feeling even more sort of isolated than they normally would be. I want to just add to that one very specifically, because I think one of the things I volunteer for numerous LGBTQI organizations and work with a number of different charities. And I think one of the things that we know about the LGBT communities, they're more likely, as James spoke about really eloquently about his own experience of isolation. And we know that that's true for the community, broadly speaking, in general. But what we've learned is that has increased because of COVID and because of that isolation. But not only that, you are now sometimes, especially for young people, when you look at the stats from the diversity role models where I'm a volunteer for the Albert Kennedy Trust, and the experiences of young people who are now trapped in their homes with people who are abusive towards them because of their sexual orientation. We know that the domestic violence and domestic abuse has gone up immeasurably over this period of time, and women are trapped in those spaces. But to be a young person as well, and know that your parents don't accept you for who you are, that you no longer have the outlet of the people who are around you outside of you, you're now trapped in those spaces. And so that's going to contribute massively. And so the organizations that I see that have been doing really well in this are being able to create online spaces where employers are supported and helped. And so, for example, one organization, one group I know works with, what they did was they decided that every day they would have a 5-minute check-in. Every morning they would just do a 5-minute check-in. And it's such a simple thing to do. Everybody logs in at 5 just to say hey, and then we get on with the job. And that can really connect people in ways that are not possible sometimes during this period.
I was just going to add comments in there. As a community, there is a high level of depression and anxiety in our community anyway, and I think there's been an opportunity for that to increase, which is really, really dangerous, I think. So building those little touch points and keeping connected, I think, is super important. And it's one thing that And is actually quite good at doing. We ensure that we allow time for our Andes to meet and try and replace some of that contact that's been physically lost. And it's really important.
Yeah, it really, really is important. Ever so important. I've learned so much today, and it's been I've spoken to you all individually beforehand, and and now we're all together. I honestly, I'm really inspired. Every time I do a show and I speak to people that have walked in their own individual shoes and can really open about sharing and inspiring. It's brilliant, and I think that in a commercial context as well, there's so much for organisations to learn and so much things they could be doing differently, like what Lenna you shared, where just having a chat in the mornings for 5 minutes, just checking in, can make so much of a difference. And I just want to just touch on something, maybe just a fun fact now, and just ask you guys, if somebody was to ask you, what advice would you give to your younger self? Yeah. And everybody gets asked that question, like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Oh God, people have been asked that before, But there are people that will be inspired, and I just wondered, if you had to have a conversation with your younger self, what would you think, that you may be saying? I certainly know that I would be saying that when you're growing up, there's going to be something called imposter syndrome, and you will walk into rooms and feel like you're not meant to be there. You will feel like you will question yourself and your validation, but actually you are worthy, and you are deserving, and you can do that. And I was asked that question on a radio show actually, and then I started asking other people. So I'd really like to ask you guys, all three of you, if you had to have a conversation with your younger self, what would you be saying? And in no particular order?
Well, I'm not sure. I could probably broadcast what I would say to myself. But no, in seriousness, the thing I would say to myself is you will learn to love yourself, and it's okay. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me in my coming out, was accepting myself and loving myself. So when I was a young boy, if I said that to myself, that would have helped.
Thank you so much, James. That was beautiful. Philippa?
Yeah, I think I'd say it's okay to be different and not have people around you at this point in time that understand what it's like to be in your shoes. But no, it's a huge world, and that you'll go out and explore it, and you'll find people that are like you and find your community.
Well, that was wonderful. Lenna?
I think for me, I was oblivious to this. All of this was sort of in a secret part of my brain that was hiding itself from me for a lot of my childhood and a lot of my growing up. And so to my younger self, I would probably say it's fine. Take your time, do what you've got to do, enjoy yourself. There's no hurry, there's no pressure. Be who you are. And I think the phrase, there's a website and a YouTube channel called It Gets Better. And I think that's really key and really important for people to understand as well. But for me, mostly primarily, just be yourself. You're enough. Be yourself.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Honestly, my cup is so full, my cup is so full, and just sounds like such an amazing place to work. I've done some work with Andy's, and my Andy name has been skipped to my Lou, because 2020 to 2021, skipping has been my motivation for exercise in the time of lockdown and everything. And I would like to say a special thank you for Lenna for joining us today, as me as a temporary Andy, and James and Philippa as permanent Andys. We are really, 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 really happy to have you today, and we just want to say thank you very much for joining us and raising the voices for people from the LGBT community, and being somebody for inspiration, but yet also giving us really good commercial context as well. So I know that you're on both sides of the fence. Thank you ever so much to James and Philippa for volunteering as well to represent and to come on the show today. I would just like to say thank you to you all for being on the panel. The show is now coming to an end. Is there anything anybody wants to say about, Lenna, where can you be contacted, for example, from here on?
You can find me on Twitter at virtuallenna, or my website is lennaland.com, lennaland.com.
Oh, that's brilliant. And James and Philippa, anything you'd like to say before the show? Before the end?
Well, certainly, I'm just going to say, look, and is a great workplace. We're growing at hyper speed. We are recruiting another 300 people this year. If you want to work for a place where you're loved and you belong, take a look at And. And the website is and.digital.
Thank you, James. That's brilliant. And Philippa?
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been great to talk. Yeah.
That's brilliant. It's been a fantastic show. It is hashtag and lift each other up, and it's been such a good show, guys. I think we're going to have to do this again another time later on in the year, all of us, because it's been brilliant. Thank you for locking in and listening to the Power Hour. We have been celebrating Pride Month and Pride Week with And Digital. I'd like to thank my guests, and I would like to thank all my listeners for listening in. This show will be available on Spotify, and you'll be able to rewind and watch over and over and over again.
Sorted right there. Thank you.
So thank you again, and I'll be in touch with you all soon. All the best. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
Bye.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk